in part 2 here, I've hooked up the end of the cable to the inside of the carb, which is attached to the slide right here. And I'm going to give you a real visual demonstration on how this works. Now what we have is a cable in a fixed position, which means that your inner cable is a certain length. It cannot be lengthened or shortened because it is a fixed length. But every carburetor is different. You may use a smaller carburetor, you may use a larger carburetor, and the cable that goes into the slide area on this end may have a longer throw or a shorter throw. What I mean is the length of travel that the slide has to go up and down. Therefore, we have 3 adjustments. We have your adjustment right here at the carburetor by screwing this brass nut out or in. If you screw it out, you lengthen the cable or tighten it up. Now at the center of the cable is the same kind of thing. If you screw this nut outwards, you're lengthening the plastic, which is lengthening the cable. Now at the top of the cable, where the throttle goes, we have the same thing. By screwing this out, we lengthen the cable. So you ask, why is that important? Well, for the first thing, let's take this Honda DIO or Elite throttle, for instance. The cable, this end fits right here, and it wraps around that small channel so far. You only have so much room before it will stop inside this throttle housing here. Okay, so what you want to do is, we know we have so much room inside the throttle housing. So what our goal is to make sure that the carburetor slide, as you can see the slide right here, this black slide right here, this is at rest. And if you'll notice, it has a very, very small opening on the bottom. That's normal for this cutaway on the slide. Now, if say my hand was the throttle here, and I'm twisting the throttle, that's half throttle, 3/4, and that's all the way open right there. Now you say, okay, what's the big deal? You just showed me half to 3/4 to open throttle. But the point is, a lot of these carburetors with these cables aren't adjusted correctly. That throttle can be that far closed. You're losing 10% of your top end right there. Or it could be right here. Or if you don't tighten up your nuts, no pun intended, on your cables here and here and here, the motor and the engine will rattle these fittings loose, will make the cable longer, and you'll lose throttle response. So when you go to adjust your throttle, well, let's go back down to 0 again. What you want to try and do is, as you're adjusting the throttle cable, you want to have someone else look in the back of your carb if possible and go from all the way closed to get you all the way open. Now a lot of people will not look down their carburetor because they just figure, well, the throttle cable will take care of itself. Well, that's a bunch of bullshit. It won't take care of itself. If you're a racer, you got to take care of it. So this is how it's done. Now on some carbs and on some throttle bodies, that's a throttle body there, you're only going to have so much room. Now you say, well, that's just it's a throttle grip. What is he talking about, room? And what I mean by room is that you may only have so much room on that throttle where it will go from 0 to all the way that much open. Okay, you're not running through full throttle right there. You're losing a lot of power because that's maybe 90%. That's maybe 85%. That's 75%. You may not be able to get in your top speed, and you're thinking, well, it's got to be something to it. The carburetor is the first place you want to adjust, first place you want to look at. If you can get a good adjustment on your throttle cable, then that is where a lot of problems lie. But if your throttle opening, or your throw, is what I like to call it, sometimes it will only go to about there. And if you try to adjust the cable any more or less, it will open it up more. You'll take more off the bottom end, and you'll get more off the top, but you'll lose it off the bottom. I'm sorry. That's what I'm trying to say. So while you're adjusting here or here, and remember to tighten these damn things up as tight as you can get them after you get your adjustment right. You don't want them rattling loose. Every carburetor is different. This is Mikuni. Okos are different. Cayens are different. Delortas are different. They're just slightly different, but if you adjust the cable to them, then you'll get the maximum use out of your carburetor. And that's the tip for the day in 2 parts for adjusting throttle cables on your DIOs or any bike you happen to be using. Okay.